up, let it roll. Stars and stripes in my soul. Steel toes on, boots in the gravel. Heartland truth on every channel. Open Bible, flag on the wall. We say what we believe or we don't talk at all. This is red, white, and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell. Can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the beltway. We won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raise hell. We back the bad, we guard the border. We love our guns and law and order. They try to shame every word we say, but we don't bow down, we just press play. This is red, white, and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell. Can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the bell. Hey, we won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raise hell. You can cancel the show, but not the crowd. We're still here, still talking loud. Hand of the free on every spell. Hit that mic, host, let the truth ring out. This is red, white, and raised hell. Cowboy hat, church bell. Can't scare us into silence. We were born to rail from the back road to the beltway. We won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raised hell.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome. Still celebrating, are we? And we should be. 250 years of exceptionalism. That is the only way to describe what we have been doing over the course of the last several weeks. For some people, celebrating America at 250 for a month. For some people, they got another month to go. We're going to continue it. Why not? I mean, it is... what was it called? Semi-quinticentennial. I can't remember the word anymore. It's got like 17 syllables. I remember 1976 was a lot easier. Bicentennial. And I'm 50 years from now, it's going to be a lot easier when it's tricentennial. But God willing, by the way, there is still a nation to celebrate the glory and the majesty and the exceptionalism thereof. 50 years from now. I really, really hope that's the case, obviously, but we are in some very, very trying times, and there is a movement afoot to make sure that we don't get another 50 years of American glory and American capitalism, American freedom, American liberty. There are a whole lot of people working very, very hard to make sure that it ends within the next 10 years or less, and that's going to be what we talk about a lot this morning. So welcome. Thank you, everybody, for getting in. It is the, what would today be, the 6th morning of the 7th month in the year of our Lord 2026. And coming up in an hour, we're going to shift gears away from a lot of this stuff with respect to 250 and the challenges in front of us right now, including socialism and communism and Marxism, all of which are a massive, massive threat to the existence. We are literally talking some people use the word existential, not really realizing what it means. We're talking about the actual existence of this nation going forward, and we're going to tackle it appropriately. But coming up at 8 o'clock, we'll shift away from that because tomorrow is the anniversary of something that I wish I didn't really have to talk about. It's the 10th anniversary of the ambush on police in Dallas. And it was the largest and one of the deadliest ambushes and attacks on police, quite frankly, in in American history, in modern American history anyway. It was July 7th, 2016, so 10 years ago tomorrow. Thousands of people gathered in downtown Dallas for a peaceful protest, they say, a peaceful protest, following the police shootings of Alton Sterling in Louisiana and Philando Castile in Minnesota. And I'm not going to relitigate those. I'm going to let somebody else relitigate those if he wants to, though, when we talk to him at 8 o'clock this morning. But approximately 100 police officers were assigned to protect the demonstrators. Let's say that again. They're there to protect demonstrators who were protesting against them, against police, which is just par for the course for what has gone on in this country in recent years. About 9 p.m., 8:58 to be precise, an Army Reserve veteran, 25-year-old Micah Xavier Johnson, launched a very, very carefully planned, coordinated, deadly ambush from elevated positions around downtown, and he targeted cops, later telling negotiators that he wanted to kill white officers specifically because he was livid over the recent police shootings of black men. I won't even go to get into the statistics of that. That is one of the most ridiculous things as well. But then again, nobody ever accused the left of being anything less than ridiculous. It is what they are. But the reality is that night, 5 law enforcement officers were killed, 9 more were wounded, 2 civilians were injured as well. And today, we're going to talk to Hollywood. Hollywood Morris is going to be joining us. You may remember Hollywood Morris. He is an activist, a pro-police activist who runs an organization called Support Our Shields. We had him on one of our most popular episodes since we started doing the online show a couple of months back. I don't remember if it might have been in April. Might have been in April. I'll have to double check. But Hollywood reached out at the end of last week and asked if I wanted to talk about this. He's going to be in Dallas tomorrow commemorating this this terrible day. And we'll talk a little bit more about it, about those who lost their lives, and about the state of the ongoing attacks on policing today. and the extension of that, by the way, into the attacks on federal law enforcement officers as well, which is something that is obviously having to do with ICE. So we'll get into all of that with him at 8 o'clock. But for the first hour, I want to spend some time talking about what happened over the weekend, over the weekend. And it was just perfect, by the way. Couldn't have lined up better, with the exception of the storms and the record heat. It's just in terms of the calendar, that the 4th of July for our 250th anniversary came on a weekend, came on a Saturday. It just worked out perfectly that way. So I want to talk a lot about what happened. First of all, the good. Dylan, if you would not mind, please throw up number 1 on the board there. President Trump confirmed, and we're going to play this, that nearly 500,000 people showed up for the fireworks show in D.C. on Saturday night. And I think the number was like 420-some thousand. Yeah, let's see if we can actually play that. Dylan, go ahead and give that a play. That show, you could just watch it for a few minutes, or a few seconds. Last year's 4th of July fireworks festival featured 20,000 rounds, if you will. 20,000 rounds of or whatever it is that you call fireworks launches. This year, 850,000, the largest. You can kill the music. 850,000 fireworks were fired off in celebration of the 250th anniversary of this country, which is just extraordinary. Anyway, let me read this to you. I just wanted you to kind of get the vibe a little bit there. President Trump said on Truth Social, the crowd at 7:05 in the evening was 422,000. All were forced to leave because of the weather. The event was canceled, and everyone was gone because of lightning. When I heard that it was canceled, I immediately overturned that decision and waited a while for people to come back. Incredibly, at least 150,000 returned, and it was even more spectacular evening than it would have been as normalized. It showed work under pressure. Congratulations to the Secret Service and law enforcement on being able to get so many people back into the arena in such rapid fashion. It was an amazing event, made even more spectacular by the fact that immediately after the great fireworks ended, the rains came down full blast, signed President Donald J. Trump. So what a fantastic tribute to America's glory and America's exceptionalism. I mean, what we fired off 850,000 rounds of is the rocket's red glare. I mean, that's literally what it's for. That's what the fireworks are made to represent. So what an extraordinary thing. And I was so glad to see that. And I was so glad that 150,000 people said, yeah, we're going to wait. Do you know they all had to go back through security again? Obviously, President Trump has been the target of at least 3 assassination attempts. You know, they're not going to, okay, we got to evacuate everybody because of the lightning and the storm and so forth, and we got to get everybody out of here. It wasn't like they were just going to say, okay, that's it. To fill them back up again, nobody knows if somebody else who hadn't already been screened maybe had come in and infiltrated the crowd that was evacuated. So they had to do the same thing all over again. And they still waited all of that time in order to be able to get in. And that is something extraordinary. It just shows the desire and the will of the American people to not let everything that the left continues to shower down on them get them down and destroy their spirit. It's something that is, it's not acceptable to true patriots. And they're going to continue to celebrate American glory, even as the left continues to trash everything about the country. And that is literally what is going on here. I want to play a clip. And Dylan, this is number 2. I want to play this clip from Spencer Pratt, basically now former candidate for Los Angeles mayor. He was, in the top 2 for the runoff, on election night, and stayed that way for, until as many days as they needed to keep counting uncounted mail-in ballots in order to get him out of that runoff, so that they couldn't dare let the city of Los Angeles be turned over to a Republican. But Spencer Pratt decided to do a video that it's being described by some as being raw and real and unapologetically American. And that's exactly how I prefer to do it, unapologetically American. And he lays it out. I want to listen to some of this. Go ahead, Dylan.
We all had to sit and watch that vile commie mayor sit on the wrong side of our founding fathers' desk to try and lecture us.
Hey, pause that for a second.
Own history.
Pause that for a second. That's a good part of this too, or a good point in this too, I should say. He's attacking and we're going to play Mamdani's ridiculous speech. Maybe I should do it in that order instead. Maybe I should, because I've got things about Mamdani's speech that I wanted to say too. So I don't know how I really want to do this. Yeah, I do. Dylan, let's reverse 3 and 2. Let's put up number 3. And this, there he is, Zoran Mamdani, sitting on the wrong side. No, zoom that back out again, or I don't know if it matters. Can you see the front of the desk? No, not in that angle. Okay. He's sitting at Washington's desk backwards. It's like the strangest thing in the world. All of the drawers are facing the camera, facing us. He's sitting on the other side of it. It's the strangest thing you've ever seen. Among them, anyway. Zoltar Mamdani, who is an anti-American activist, also serving now as mayor of New York City, also serving as an Islamist, which means he is a Muslim and he is a believer in Muslim domination, not the Muslim faith, Muslim domination. Islam is in the United States as it is in Europe, and it is not here to assimilate. It is here to conquer, period. He is a massive central figure in that as the leader of New York City. He also sits at that desk as an avowed communist. Now, he'll call himself a member of the DSA, the Democrat Socialists of America, which means nothing. It's crap versus crap with sprinkles. That's it. Socialism is crap. Democratic socialism is crap with sprinkles. All right? So this communist and Islamist is hell-bent on tearing the United States down. And on his 4th of July Independence Day address, he basically made that very, very clear. And that's what Spencer Pratt is going to respond to in a moment. So we're going to do this in this order instead. This way I get my commentary out in front of Spencer's. But let it fire.
There is a term so often used to describe our nation and those who have shaped it: American exceptionalism. American exceptionalism, the conventional wisdom tells us, makes our freedom a little more free, is how we dug the Erie Canal and irrigated the West, is why children in faraway lands grow up dreaming of one day moving here. And yet the irony is that the story of America has so often been written by those who were told by others with power and influence and wealth that they were anything but exceptional. For generation after generation, we have been told that when the world has sent its people to our shores, it has not sent its best. It sent Puritans and Sikhs and Quakers and Muslims and Jewish people who were banished for praying the wrong way, worshiping the wrong gods, angering the wrong people. It sent peasants and serfs from slums and shtetls who were treated as less because they hardly owned clothes, let alone land. It sent immigrants from whom power was something someone else had. We are told that America is exceptional because we are richer, stronger, more powerful than everyone else. The truth, my friends, is that America is exceptional because here, nothing is fixed into place. The frontier may be closed, we may have walked on the moon, but the work of fulfilling the values first enshrined in the Declaration of Independence, that work endures, and it belongs to us all. It belongs to our newest Americans, those standing here with me today, all of whom were recently naturalized. Nearly a decade ago, I too felt what you feel, the joy of no longer being just a New Yorker, but an American too. You each hold a special power, the power to determine what America means. The powerful have always known their answer. America, in their view, is an arena of supremacy, where only a select few are allowed freedom. We're not all created equal.
All right, stop it there so we can get into that just a little bit. See, this is this is what the left is counting on, and this is what the left cheers. This is what the left actually supports. They're supporting a man on the anniversary of this country's founding, 250 years of again, what I will continue to repeat, and I apologize if you find it redundant, but the greatest force for good in the history of human civilization. And what is he focusing on? He is focusing on what he perceives to be its negatives. He's focusing on what he perceives to be the wealth inequality, what he perceives to be the power inequality, the elite versus the unwashed, and so on and so forth. And he's trying to paint himself and his party and his people as champions of the oppressed. When the reality is, as a communist, he vows and plans and desires to make more people oppressed. That is what communism does. It has done it everywhere it has gone on. The fact that he has a few useful idiots on his side, including some of those surrounding him, does not change that reality. The reality is he is literally already on his little dress about everybody wants to come here. He is trashing here and saying that the majority, white supremacists, people who don't, and he'll get into this more specifically in a moment here, but people who don't have the wrong accents or the wrong color. He's going to divide the country on a time we should all be unified behind only three colors, three of them. Where's the camera? Three. It's a little bit off-centered. I don't like that. But it's literally red, white, and blue. Those are the only colors you're supposed to celebrate on 250, and you're even really only supposed to identify. And here he automatically turns it into black and white, or black and brown and white. But that's exactly what they do. And I've got a ton of examples. We're going to get into Bill Clinton. We're going to get into the Democrat Party and their statements and so on over the course of the weekend, because it's just appalling. But it also shows you not just where they are when it comes to trashing us on our own holiday, our own birthday, anniversary, whatever it is you want to call 250 years ago, and the signing of the Declaration. It's much, much more than that. It's about our way of life, and it's about the future of this country. They have already begun an open and sustained assault on this country, on its history, on capitalism, on free markets. The attack is on liberty, that which was granted to us by that declaration and then fought and bled and died for. They're attacking all of that right now by the election of socialists and communists in the Democrat Party from one end of the country to the other. It's not coincidental, I don't think, that we had to fight the worst oppression by the most oppressive regime in the world at the time, the British Empire. We had to fight the British Crown for our liberty, and now we are going to have to refight the whole damn thing against the communists. Ronald Reagan stood up against the communists. And Ronald Reagan, not just Reagan, it just ended with Reagan in charge and with Reagan's extremely forceful negotiations and dealings with the Soviet Union. And the Berlin Wall fell and the Soviet bloc crumbled. But it was a fight for a couple of decades, the Cold War, a few decades, the Cold War that we fought to stop communism was to literally protect and preserve the United States and the West forever and for all time. That's how important it was. And now it's like, well, the battle that was already won in the Cold War, people have forgotten the threat of communism. And it is right back in our faces right now with the DSA. It is right back. And do not ever forget that, as Vladimir Lenin said, the goal of socialism is always communism. Socialism is communism. Communism is socialism, and they are both from the tree of Marxism. And it is that dangerous. So, all right, let's get back to Kami Mamdani and continue that where I left off.
America, if you ask them, becomes less the more people it welcomes. America, they will tell you, belongs only to those with the right accent or the right shade of skin.
There it is.
What they insist should be grateful for merely being allowed to visit. How small they are, how weak, how unoriginal. At every moment in our past.
I'll pause that again real quick.
Exclusion and isolation.
So, yes, they should be grateful for just the opportunity to come and visit if they want to, especially if on that visit they seek to usurp American law. And if they seek to violate, no matter what the left-wing driven decision of the Supreme Court of the United States was on the issue of birthright citizenship. If their visit here involves popping out an anchor to the country so that they have birthright citizenship and chain migration can be triggered, if that's what they're doing here visiting, they're lucky we don't shut down the whole damn country. No more flights to the United States until we get it all under control, until the largest deportation in history takes place. Until they're gone, no more. Yeah, you should be grateful just to visit. Zoltar? And your attack on this country by calling it racist on its birthday, calling it some sort of saying that the United States is some sort of a white supremacy-driven, oppressive regime, is to spit in the face of the patriots who brought liberty, yes, including the founders, who, yes, founded the country while slavery was still going on, yes, and then worked. And literally, as the United States was born, it's the only reason slavery was able to be wiped out. It was also something, by the way, for those who think that the founders, because I read a lot of left-wing propaganda over the weekend, saying that the founders were hypocrites because they were talking about, all men were created equal, except for black men, except for only if they were white men, because slavery was still going on. The founding fathers wanted to wipe out slavery before they even signed the Declaration of Independence. But the Declaration of Independence was signed by only 56 people, not by thousands in all of the 13 colonies. Those 56 people had to win the colonies over. They had to convince them to join forces and start a revolution against the British. If they were not all united, it never could have worked. It's still a miracle of God's creation that it did work. But if they didn't have some of the southern colonies that did indeed still use slavery and did indeed still support the institution of slavery, if they didn't have them on board, they never ever, this country would not have been born. And there's no way to convince them to come on board if they say we're wiping out slavery, you have to let everybody go. And by the way, come and fight for a new country now. No, they had to believe that they were going to be able to keep what they had. And for less than 100 years, In fact, about 80 years after the signing of the Constitution, the ratification of the Constitution, slavery came down. The Civil War, of course, commencing in 1860 to make that happen. So you understand the point we're talking about here. I hope anyway. This nation was founded on the principle of freedom. It literally liberated us from the shackles, if you will, of Great Britain. Even though those shackles were still on slaves here, it eventually led to exactly that, the freeing of everybody and then the full citizenship, which is kind of ironic because we circle it back now to the 14th Amendment, which was intended to do what? To give the children of freed slaves full-on citizenship, so they knew this was their home. They have absolutely every right to everything else that everybody else gets right here at home. That's what it was. It was never meant to be plane loads or bus or a ship loads. Imagine that. I think it was Stephen Miller talked about it. And I know I'm getting off tangent or off on a tangent a little bit here, but Stephen Miller talking about the birthright citizenship thing, which I wrote my entire Sunday briefing on yesterday. If you did not receive the Sunday briefing, email me, bob@strictlyspeaking.org, bob@strictlyspeaking.org, and we'll add your name to the list of subscribers. But I wrote the entire briefing yesterday about the birthright citizenship decision by the Supreme Court. And Stephen Miller said, if a shipload of hundreds or thousands of pregnant women can dock at an American port, have their babies on that ship docked at an American port, and then automatically say those are all 1,000 new Americans, no matter where they came from, then what it means to be American, and I'm paraphrasing him, what it means to be American is completely bastardized. That is not what it means to be an American. Where you happen to be popped out on what soil, no. The key phrase being under the jurisdiction thereof. If you're not under the jurisdiction of the United States, meaning you pledge allegiance to the United States and nowhere else, that does not automatically qualify you as an American citizen. All right. So, Dylan, let's go back to Spencer Pratt now. Let's go back to number 2 because I want to pull this up. I was giving some of my response to Zoltar Mamdani, but I want you to hear the former candidate for mayor of Los Angeles who was railroaded out of that position and being in the runoff in Los Angeles. But he wanted to respond to Kami Mamdani and his hate screed against the country that has made him the mayor of its largest city, which is just too absurd to even describe. But Spencer tries to describe it. Here we go.
Notice how the communist always attacks your history. The communist must attack your history. Why? Because history is what anchors you. It's what makes us attached to something. Nostalgia is a hell of a drug. History breeds an almost irrational attachment to things, an attachment that is more powerful than anyone can imagine. Erasing history is how you demoralize people, how you unmoor them and detach them from their society so you can take it from them and rewrite it in your image. Think of your country like a home. What makes your home special? It's not the marble countertops or the expensive furniture or the fancy appliances. It's the memories you have there. That backyard is where we got married. That living room rug is where our son took his first step. Hey, don't touch that. That was his first teddy bear. It doesn't matter how torn and tattered that thing is. You will never get rid of it. And you will fight anyone who tries to take it away. Why? Because you have history with it. You ever buy a new home? Remember those first few months? Even the first few years there, it doesn't feel like home. It could be a million times nicer than the crappy apartment you came from, but it doesn't feel like home for a long time because you don't have history there. It's easy to knock down some walls, change the floor plan. If you have no memories to attach you to it, it's just wood and drywall. Who cares? Get rid of it. Memories make it a home. Even the bad ones. Hey, remember when Dad hit his head on the rafter in the attic and we spent all night in the ER? That's the avocado tree I fell out of and broke my first bone. Isn't it weird how even the bad memories make us cherish a place? It's not like we long for those bad times, but bad times are part of what makes us stronger, a part of what makes us who we are. How can you resent those memories without fundamentally resenting who you are? History is so important to humans that even bad memories anchor us to our home. And that's what the communist always starts with, the bad memories. Oh, we could get rid of that little story. We can knock down that statue. We can change the name of that street. That's a bad memory from our history. You don't want that memory hanging around. You're not a bigot, right? And slowly but surely, this wall comes down, then that wall gets sledgehammered. The rafter where Dad hit his head, that's gone. The rub where your son took his first step, that's gone. The gash in the wood floor where you stomped the glass on your wedding ceremony, that's gone and replaced with shiny vinyl planks. And now you've got a brand new home with no memories. Now what? Do you care what they do with it? Do you care what color they paint the walls? Nah, Do whatever you want. I don't care. I have no attachment to it. I have no memories with that. You love your home because of the memories you have there. And that's why the communist always must destroy your memories, destroy your history. If the communist wishes to take your home, he must first destroy your memory of it so he can erase your attachment to it and demoralize you. Mao destroyed what he called the four olds: old ideas, old culture, old customs, and old habits. If you call them olds, it makes them sound bad. You don't want that old thing. Get rid of it. But it is fundamentally human nature to cherish your history. We crave learning about our history, where we came from, who our ancestors were. That's human. But communism is an evil, anti-human religion, so it must destroy what makes us human. The communist destroys your history so he can take your home and rebuild it in his image. That's why it's your patriotic duty to celebrate today unashamed. It's okay to love America. Not only is it okay to love America, it's necessary to love America. We are the only bulwark against tyranny on this earth. When Europe descends into madness time and time again, it's our sons who cross the oceans to fight and die for freedom and human dignity. We don't let evil people destroy our history and rewrite it in their image. This is Independence Day. It's not just a number on the calendar. Don't say Happy 4th. That's commie gobbledygook.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
We say Independence Day. Today we celebrate the men who reclaimed a beautiful slice of this earth and claimed it for God, for the values of freedom and rugged independence. Our history is messy. Our history is violent. Fuck yeah, it is. And that's why we love it. We aren't cowards. We don't turn our backs on the painful memories because they make us who we are. Be proud of our country, damn it. America is the birthplace of every great invention of the last 250 years. Like literally everything. Airplanes, spaceships, internet, telephones. As a country, we are batting 1,000. Not only is it a miracle that this radical experiment in self-governance even survived past 1776, but we are the champions of the world. Be proud of that. Be proud of your history. Millions of your ancestors fought and died to preserve it. Kami Mamdani's ancestors never bled for this country. He has no history here, so he has no attachment to our home. He has no place to rewrite our history and lecture us about what our country stands for. So celebrate today. Show some American pride. Honor your history. Raise your flag. Raise a finger and say, fuck you, communists. This is our home, and you can't have it. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day. God bless America.
I got to tell you, that was something I don't think a whole lot of people expected. For being honest, a whole lot of people did not expect that from Spencer Pratt, but that was phenomenal. The few F-bombs notwithstanding, I know a lot of people didn't appreciate those, but I'm not going to pick nits here. He took Zohran Mamdani's speech and took it apart, blasting him for all of his divisiveness, blasting him for all of his hate, blasting him for all of his, slandering, literally slandering the United States of America, focusing on its bad parts of its history. We don't turn our backs on the bad parts of our history. We put them into terms that are a little bit more understandable, meaning there's context. And slavery in the world, it was a universal institution. We were not unique in any way. We weren't some sort of evil barbarians grabbing people for the first time ever and forcing them into servitude. It was the way of the world, and it had been for centuries. Looking at it through 2026 eyes and saying that in 1776 or in 1756 or in 1656, well, I would have stood up against that. I would have definitely said no to the whole slavery thing. You look at it through the eyes of the rest of the world at that time. And I can talk a lot about that. In fact, I've got a lot of information about that I want to share. But I just want to say what Zoltar Mamdani said compared to what Spencer Pratt said. It shows you which side of the political spectrum, which side of the ideological spectrum this country shall prosper from. Let's put it to you that way. The left doesn't want this country to prosper. The Democrat Party doesn't want this country to be successful. The Democrat Party wants it to fail so that they can rebuild it in a socialist dystopian image. They call it utopian, but everybody who's ever watched socialism or communism be implemented knows the exact opposite is true. Instead of a utopia, it's a dystopia. and you never get your freedoms back. Marco Rubio talked about that. Dylan, I'm going out of order here, but it just seems to fit here. Find what number was it? Where Marco Rubio back in 2020, by the way, is when it was. Oh, it's number 17. It's all the way down to around 17. Play this video from Facebook, number 17. And it's somebody else's account, and they just kind of drop Marco Rubio in there. And it's really good, though. This is Marco Rubio driving around in his car in 2020, talking about that. This is before what we are seeing now, of course, in 2025. Last year, the election of communist Zoltar Mamdani. And now this year, all of the Democrat socialists winning all of these Democrat primaries. Marco Rubio was warning of this 6 years ago. Play this. Go ahead.
What is democratic socialism? Eloquently explained by our excellent Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, whose family fled communist Cuba.
Democratic socialism sounds benign, but at the core of democratic socialism is Marxism. And at the core of Marxism is this fake offer that if you turn over more of your individual freedom, we're going to provide you security. We're going to provide you free healthcare. We're going to provide you free education. But the problem is that when they can't deliver on it, or when you're not happy with it, you don't get your freedoms back. And by freedoms, I don't just mean elections. I'm talking about the right to choose your own doctor, the right to make healthcare decisions for yourself, what your kids learn in school, what schools they go to, all that stuff you lose control over, and you don't get it back just because the security they promised you didn't happen. So that's what we're on the verge of having to decide here in this country. It's a reason why people flee countries that have this stuff. It's a big deal for America. And I hope people start waking up to that reality.
He warned us of this.
That was Marco Rubio in 2020. This is 5 years before Mamdani was elected, a socialist mayor of New York City. This is when all we really had was Bernie Sanders, and was AOC even on the scene in 2020? But all of the socialists that now have infiltrated our government and are getting votes from Democrats who have no earthly idea what they're doing. Listen to people like Marco Rubio, whose family fled Cuba. Communist Cuba. Listen to people, whether they're political figures like Marco Rubio or not. Listen to people who got to the United States to flee places like Venezuela. People who fled, communist and socialist countries looking for some sort of way out. Those are the kinds of refugees that we don't mind taking in. People fleeing communist nations, not just third world blank holes. But people fleeing, listen to them, because they will tell you. People like Xi Van Fleet, who fled communist China and came here just warning of all of the red flags they saw before Mao's Great Leap Forward. And then the Cultural Revolution, which killed millions, tens of millions, for crying out loud. So anyway, really good stuff there from Spencer Pratt and then Marco Rubio. Pull up number 4, if you would, Dylan. I want to get back to Zoltar for a moment here. This time, though, it is Zoltar Mamdani's wife, which underscores the point. Again, though, when I talked about if you look, in fact, let me pop this up on the screen, the graphic that I made for today's show. America celebrates 250, demented Dems unleash their hate. And that is exactly what they did for the entirety of the, Great World's Fair, in D.C. and, leading up to the actual fireworks, the celebration of Mount Rushmore, the celebration in D.C. and so forth. All they've done for the last week or so is hate, hate, hate. And it's because they hate this country as a free capitalist republic. They don't like those things. So we'll go over to Zoltar's wife here. And this is how Zoltar's wife celebrated America 250, by leaving the country. Zoltar Mamdani is the new face of the Democrat Party. Zoltar, and yes, I know his name is Zoran. Just watch the movie Big and you'll see why I call him Zoltar. Zoltar is the new face of the Democrat Party. He is backing and endorsing Democrat socialist candidates, or just socialist candidates, and winning. He is literally now the kingmaker in the Democrat Party. He has kind of passed up Barack Obama. He's kind of passed up Bill Clinton. Zoran Mamdani is the new face of the Democrat Party. And on America's birthday, the leader of the Democrat Party trashed the country in a speech sitting on the wrong side of Washington's desk while his wife fled the country because she doesn't want to be anywhere near something like this. She fled the country to go to an Islamic spiritual wellness retreat. Just happened to be the weekend of the 4th of July. Just happened to be at this particular time. So she bails on the country while he stays here and trashes the country. This is not just two people. This is why I'm emphasizing this. This is the face of the party. So when you hear the left telling us that, the battle lines that the conservatives are drawing are white versus black and brown, that's their favorite thing to do, is use racial identity politics to try to divide us among race. It is not about white versus black and brown at all. It is about people who are pro-America versus people who absolutely despise America. Color be damned. It doesn't matter. Because there are millions of white leftist women who are voting for the socialists. It is not about white versus black and brown. It is about righteousness, and it's about oppression. And communism brings oppression everywhere it has ever been tried. I don't know if you can see it or not, the little event that Zoltar's wife went to is called Plants of the Quran, run by the for-profit Women's Sanctuary, focusing on Islamic texts, etc., etc. And of course, if you look at that photo again, scroll that up there back to her picture. If she was in one of those Islamic countries that she loves so much, plants of the Quran, she would be being whipped right now, beaten for having her hair showing. Depending on which Islamic country, her face as well, anything other than her eyes. This is the culture that these people have brought into the United States, into the West. All right, let's move on to this. Let's move on to Keeping Medicare Simple, our friends at Keeping Medicare Simple, and my good friend Mark King, helping you. I was talking to my cousin just on 4th of July. We had a great part. Thank you to Donna and Mike, by the way. I don't know if they were in the chat. I haven't looked in the chat yet this morning. But if Donna and Mike, who hosted a wonderful party for a lot of great Patriots on Saturday, we were absolutely thrilled and excited to be invited to. But my cousin told me that she and her husband just met with Mark King because he, my cousin's husband, good man, he is turning 65 this year. And he's ready for Medicare. What do we got to do? What do we got to know? And those are the questions that you get answered. Not only what do we have to do, what do we have to know, but what can you do to help me make sure I get in the best plan? One that's going to cost me the least, but give me the most. And that's what Mark King has been doing for people for more than, take that back. I don't want to be inaccurate, for nearly 40 years here in Northeast Ohio. Nobody knows it better. All right, call Mark at 440-832-8936 if you're aging into Medicare or if you're already in Medicare, but you are not necessarily sure if you're in the right plan. And if there is more, and you never even know, really, because if you didn't comparison shop, if you just went to your insurance company and said, okay, I'm in Medicare, and your insurance company writes Medicare plans, you've got to comparison shop, and that's what Mark will help you do. Call him again, 440-832-8936. 440-832-8936. Look for more information on the website, which is very simple, keepingmedicaresimple.com. And thank you to Mark for being a foundational partner and sponsor of this program. All right. Let's bring up, if we could, number 5, please. The aforementioned, one of the former kings, if you will, of the Democrat Party, the former face of the party, whose face was almost replaced by his wife, much to our chagrin, because that is one hell of a face to look at. But Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton decided to take America's 250th birthday and do what Zoltar Mamdani did. Trash America. Specifically by trashing its current president and saying that the state of the current country is in jeopardy because of that. In other words, he chose at a time in which we cast aside all of our differences. It's not about black or white. It's about red, white, and blue. Bill Clinton decided to divide the country as far as he possibly could. In a long statement there that probably most people saw and said, nope, too long, not reading. Because we have the attention span of gnats anymore. And I feel bad for gnats. They always get blamed for short attention spans. I don't know how their attention span is any less than that of a fly or a flea, but poor gnats. Anyway, people aren't reading it because it's too many words there and people are lazy. We as a culture have become really, really lazy. That's why shorts are so popular. That's why they call it doom scrolling. Watch a full-length 15-minute video. Are you crazy? I don't have time for that. Give me the 60-second version. Give me a clip from it. I'll get the rest of it by context. That's what we do. It's why people doom scroll. And they decide in 4 seconds or 5 seconds of the flip up on the scroll whether or not they're going to watch the 60 seconds that follow. So nobody is watching a long video and nobody is reading Bill Clinton's entire scribe. I did. And I want to pick it apart just a little bit here. I've got it in front of me. So basically, thumbnail sketch was his statement basically calls for an end to conservatism. It's a call for the progressive socialist march toward greater inclusion and inequality and democracy. He does celebrate the nation's longevity, but then basically trashes Trump and everything that Trump is doing, no matter how much of it resembles some of what he did, by the way. It's amazing. We've all seen those videos too, probably while doom scrolling. We've seen videos of Barack Obama at various points in time, Bill Clinton at various points in times, Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi, particularly all around immigration, talking about how we've got to get illegal immigration under control. This country is not for everybody to come to and just drop anchor here, blah, blah, blah. It's hilarious watching them. But now Trump says the same thing, and it's, well, we got to stop Orange Man bad, so we've got to pretend we never said all of those other things. I don't want to digress too far from this. Okay. Here are some of the more notable passages from Bill Clinton's his essay that he wrote, specifically on masked agents and doing immigration enforcement. Quote, "The people in charge have unleashed masked agents on American communities to seize people from their homes, workplaces, and the street. They have started an unconstitutional war on a whim with no clear objectives or exit strategy and zero regard for the consequences to the lives of millions of people around the world." Obviously, a clear swipe at ICE and a swipe at President Trump and the largest deportation in American history. What Bill Clinton does not say is that when he used ICE, and it was called the INS at the time, Immigration and Naturalization Services, when he used INS to deport around 5 million people, they didn't have to wear masks. Why? Because the right, which opposed Bill Clinton largely through just about everything, but the right, the Republicans, the conservatives, didn't try to assault the INS. They didn't try when they were gathering people up for deportation. We didn't get in the way of that and threaten their families. We supported that and said, yeah, this is the right thing to do. But when it comes to President Trump using the same, and Obama, same story. Obama, it was called ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The right didn't go out there in the streets and obstruct and agitate and get in the way and threaten ICE agents. So they didn't need to wear masks. Hell, CNN, the mainstream media, did stories on ICE going out there in these midnight raids and trying to gather up illegal aliens and then focusing on the crimes of the illegal aliens, not focusing on the actual officers, the agents who were rounding them up. They embedded with them. They did ride-alongs and they interviewed them as they were looking for these people. They made them out to be what they are. Heroes, law enforcement officers. But now President Trump doing the same thing, sending out ICE. Oh, no. ICE, Trump, when he was running for president first time around in 2016, described the illegal migrants coming in from Mexico in particular. He said, they're not sending us their best. They're sending us their murderers and their rapists and their drug cartels. He didn't call all Mexicans murderers, rapists, and drug cartels. He called the ones who are those things coming into the United States, those things. But because he did that, well, Trump's a racist. Therefore, we have to oppose his ability, his intention and his mission of deporting people on that basis. And so they obstruct and they threaten, and here we are. And now ICE agents are being threatened literally to their faces. I know who you are. I know your family. I know where you live. Who's going to continue to do their job under those threats? They have to conceal their identities. Clinton didn't want to talk about that. Clinton wanted to trash the current administration rather than celebrate America 250. He went on to say in his ridiculous essay, with the help of lifetime appointees to the Supreme Court and a compliant Congress, they have weaponized government to settle personal scores, prosecute enemies, stamp out free speech. Does this son of a bitch even think we're going to take that? I mean, every single freaking word of this is what his party and the radical left has done to Donald J. Trump and to all of us. Are you kidding me right now? Think about what he is saying. With the help of lifetime appointees to the Supreme Court and a compliant Congress, they've weaponized government to settle personal scores. The deep state locked up General Mike Flynn. The deep state locked up Roger Stone. The deep state raided President Trump's personal freaking residence. The deep state that the Democrats support and built specifically targeted President Trump and his allies to, quote, settle personal scores. What else did he write? Prosecute enemies. They charged Trump with dozens and dozens of quote unquote crimes that no one had ever been charged with before. Never. It's called lawfare. It had never happened before. Never on this scale, especially. Stamp out free speech. They literally took Donald Trump's social media accounts away from him, not to mention scores of others. At the time I quit Twitter, back when Twitter was engaging in cancel culture, at the time I quit, I had about 35,000 people who followed me there. I was being shadow banned and blocked, and everything I wrote was not allowed to go on. I quit Twitter. I still haven't recovered from it because when I came back, I got about 13,000 people there. They took Trump's account away from him. They took mine. They literally silenced our voices if they opposed in any way, shape, or form the narrative that the left was advancing. What? You said that the COVID vaccines might not work? Bye-bye, your account is now gone. Wait, what? You said that people shouldn't have to stay at home while this terrible, deadly virus is out there ravaging the neighborhoods, and that businesses should stay open? You think people should have the right to go to church while a pandemic is going on? Gone. You're telling me Bill Clinton, over the 250th celebration of this country's liberty this weekend, literally accused the Trump administration of doing everything that they did during their time in power. From cancel culture, taking away free speech, lawfare, weaponization of government, prosecution of political enemies. They did every single bit of that, and that's going to be his complaint about Trump. And he's going to make these complaints during the time when we're supposed to be focused on unity and celebration of America 250 years strong. On the New Deal and socialism, slick William Clinton. Their New Deal is socialism for the super rich. How the freaking hell is socialism for the super rich? Socialism takes everything from the super rich, collectivizes it in the government, and then doles it out by the spoonful to the hungry masses until there is no more to dole out and the hungry masses starve to death. That's why forced famine killed hundreds of millions of people in socialist and communist countries all over the world in the last century and a half. All over the world. There is no such thing as socialism for the super rich, even if it means increasing poverty, inequality, and illness at home and around the world. I cannot believe that this man is still allowed to represent the Democrat Party. But then again, Why would he not? Why would Bill Clinton? I don't want to get into all of the things we know about Bill Clinton. I'm just focusing on what he said here. Rewriting history and political correctness, he wrote, and I quote, "They also want to rewrite history to ignore and outright deny our past flaws, while banning books that say otherwise from our libraries. And they select even our military leaders based on their version of political correctness over ability." He is literally flipping the script, turning everything upside down on critical race theory and DEI in education, in books. He says that if we want to destroy rhetorically the 1619 Project, that we are banning history, we're rewriting history. The 1619 Project says that the country wasn't founded in 1776, that the country was founded in 1619, the time of the first arrival of slaves in North America. They want to turn everything back to the sin of slavery, as if the United States didn't already acknowledge and know that slavery was not only a sin, it was a horrible moral injustice upon the world. And yes, literally the world, because slavery was practiced around the entire world for the last several centuries up until that time. It wasn't new. It wasn't invented by the United States, but they saw it as such a sin that countless scores of white soldiers and white people fought to end slavery. And literally starting with the Constitution in 1787, less than 80 years later, by 1860, we were in war to end slavery. And then countless numbers of people lost their lives defending the new rights of Africans, now African Americans, during the Jim Crow era to bring civil rights about. What party, Bill Clinton, what party fought against civil rights and the Civil Rights Act of 1964? What party fought against it in order to keep Black people down and in need? The Democrat Party did. It was the Republican Party that got the Civil Rights Act passed. You talk about wanting to rewrite history. It's exactly what your party is doing right now. You were the party of slavery. The Republican Party was birthed, literally, to end slavery. Republican President Abraham Lincoln making it happen. The Republican Party was not the party that in post-slavery, in the Jim Crow era, that created the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan. The Democrat Party did. The Democrat Party did the lynchings. The Democrat Party wanted the separate access. It was the Republican Party who ended all of that. But we're the ones rewriting history? No. American history is clear. No matter what Bill Clinton or Zoran Mamdani wants you to believe, no matter what Hannah Nicole Jones or Hannah Jones Nicole, whatever hell her name is, who wrote the fiction, it's a work of fiction for the New York Times, the 1619 Project, no matter what they want to say. American history is clear. It has been written, and it is being remembered in proper context, not by the left, but by the nearly 500,000 patriots who showed up in Washington, D.C. to celebrate our 250th. The 150,000 who came back after the storms, the rains, the lightning, the evacuation. The millions across this country who flew flags. Only 27% of Democrats said they would fly a flag because they're not proud of the United States. Less than 20% of Democrats said that they are indeed proud Americans. And more than half of Democrats, more than half, said they wished they lived in another country. America celebrated 250 as it should, but only real America. And that is Americans who love the country. I said this in one of my road rants. By the way, did you notice the similarity between Marco Rubio's road rant that I played from 2020 and what I do? I thought it was pretty funny, actually. I thought, could it be me? He had his camera mounted in just almost the exact same place as I do. But I did in one of my road rants last week in telling them if that's how they feel with those statistics, why are you still here? Get the F out. Seriously. You're not proud to be here. You're not going to fly a flag. And you wish you lived somewhere else. What, is there a chain on the door, GTFO. Get the F out of here. What are you waiting for? Find a spot. And what I said was, if you don't love the country you're in, go find yourself a country to love. Mystery to that? Rather than tear down the free capitalist republic that you were privileged enough to be born in, rather than trying to tear it down and turn it into a socialist hellhole, go find an existing socialist hellhole and move in. It's easier for everybody. They're out there. There's a lot of them. North Korea is just waiting. Cuba, open for business. Go on in. Tell us how that works out for you. Go to China. Go to communist China. Tell us how that works for you too. Move in lock, stock, and barrel. You want to live under socialism, do it. But I'll tell you something. It hurts to think that at the time we are celebrating 250 years of liberty, in the same year, we are seeing the rise of that which could kill that liberty. Socialist candidates winning elections from New York to California and major points in between, Chicago, Denver, up in Seattle. They're winning Michigan. They're winning races. In the same year that we celebrate freedom, Democrats are electing people to take away that freedom. That's all I want to say for now. Except that I also want to say, please join us at AFP, Americans for Prosperity, working so very hard. AFP Ohio in particular, working very hard to protect and preserve the republic every step of the way. And here in Ohio, be a part of the Buckeye Blueprint. Economic opportunity, education freedom, energy abundance, government accountability. What does the state of Ohio have in common? Or what do those things have in common in the state of Ohio? They're all in the middle of the pack nationally. That's why. Ranked in the 30s and all of those things. We should be leading the country, for crying out loud. Ohio can be and should be what Vivek Ramaswamy told me last week. We should be the destination, not Florida, not Tennessee, and not Texas, the three big red states that are drawing all of the people who want freedom. Why is Ohio not at the head of that pack? With all of the resources we have here, we should be leading that pack, and that's what AFP Ohio is designed to do. Go to the website, BuckeyeBlueprint.com. Find out how you can volunteer, how you can find an AFP chapter near you to support and help in any way that you can, even if it's just sharing ideas with one another and taking those back to the people you work with or the people in your, in your orbit. Take them back and tell them what Ohio needs to do. It's extraordinarily important. AFP Ohio is doing great work. I'm proud to be associated with them and proud to have them as a foundational partner of Strictly Speaking Unfiltered. Thank you, AFP Ohio. All right. We have reached the top of the 8 o'clock hour, and I spy with my little eye a great man. I'm looking at my green room right now. There he is. Let's flip that around if we could. There he is. Oh, man, I thought I decked out for the 4th of July. I need that shirt, man. How are you, brother?
How you doing, my brother? You are on fire this morning, and I love it. It's exactly the message that the nation needs to hear, brother. I love it.
Thank you, my friend. God bless you. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you reaching out to me. No,
Yes.
For those who don't know, Hollywood, your episode of this show, and when were we together? Like April, I want to say maybe?
Yes, yes.
I can't remember the exact date, but I remember it was around in April. And it was one of the most viewed shows that we got. I got a ton of comments. I got a lot of great reaction. People loved you, and they loved Support Our Shields, which is greatly important. So I'm so glad you reached back out to come on to talk about what tomorrow is a different kind of anniversary. But before we dive into that, and you're going to be in Dallas, or are you there now? Are you in Dallas now?
Yeah, I'm heading there tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning, okay. So we're going to talk about that ambush and the 10-year anniversary of that in a moment.
Yeah.
But because you're decked out the way you are, as most of us have been for the last week or so, celebrating, and commemorating 250 years, give me your thoughts on where this country is at this very, very this milestone moment of our birth.
Yes. It's why what you said is so important, Bob, because we take it in that we celebrated our 250th year anniversary. And here's what we have to understand. And if the audience doesn't understand anything else that we say today, Bob, is if we do not stop this Marxist infection, we won't get to another 50. Hell, I don't know if we'll get to another 30. This is how serious what you're exposing is. And it's not that it's coming, brother, it's already here.
You know what, Hollywood, I agree. And the only thing I would disagree with slightly is I think you're being too optimistic, because I don't think we'll last another 10. I said that in the first hour of the show.
Yes.
That with the number of communist socialists that are being elected, from Mamdani, in New York City, to a whole bunch of other primary winners who are going to win their general election races in their deep blue districts, Congress is going to be filled with more. Governor's mansions are being filled with more socialists and communists.
Yes.
They're here, and they're not going to wait 30 years. I mean, honestly, they are going to move very quickly. If the midterms don't go our way, and that is, of course, very, very much in doubt right now, if the midterms don't go our way, we're going to end up having, a Democrat-controlled House and Senate, and possibly in 2028 they'll have the presidency, and you could say goodbye to the Electoral College, and you can say goodbye to photo identification. You can say goodbye to fair elections. You can say hello to 4 more left-wing senators because of 2 new left-wing states, Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. You can say goodbye to the legislative filibuster in the Senate, so they can pass everything with simple majorities. We'll never get it back, Hollywood. And inside of 10 years, this country will be full socialist. That's what I think.
And don't forget the Supreme Court. That was another one. But let's come up with 20 justices. Let's just keep it going.
Yeah, they will. Some people say they want 4 more. They want to make sure that it can never ever go back the other way again. So they'll probably let the next Democrat president appoint up to 6 new justices to take it from 9 to 15, so that it's like I said, it'll be forever gone. Our chances to keep what made this republic great. So yeah, it is that serious, and I'm glad you recognize it. And I hope you're using your voice to let everybody know what's coming if they don't know. So
absolutely, brother.
To remind anybody who did not see that very popular episode of our show, the one that you and I did together, tell everybody about Support Our Shields.
Absolutely. I started Support Our Shields. Now it's going on 6 years ago in response to defund the police movement. And remember, it was more than defund. It was defund, demonize, dehumanize, and demoralize. And then what we pointed out in that great interview that we did was that is led to the state that we see now, which is open defiance. And so one of the things that I do, Bob, is travel the country when a police officer is killed in the line of duty and present a plaque to that family and share my testimony with that department, which is them putting on that badge and stepping into the chaos and the danger that they do, that you have a kid like me that could be born in some of the worst circumstances you can imagine in America and still accomplish the American dream. And that is why what you just said in the previous segment, if these people hate the country so much, it's an open door policy, bro. They can go. We don't need them. And like when you've come from my background and you see what people did who didn't look like me, who did not come from that environment, stepped in to basically turn my life around. It is the least that I can do, Bob, is going out when they lose a brother and sister in service to the community, laying down their lives in most cases for complete strangers.
We can marry those two things that we just talked about together.
Absolutely.
Those socialist candidates. You talked about defame and dehumanize and everything else with police, with the defund the police movement. There are more. We thought that died in 2020.
No.
Or 2021, because 2020 is when it all started because of the George Floyd overdose and everything that they did. But it's been revived now, even though multiple jurisdictions and cities found out how terrible that idea was, because they defunded and shrunk their police forces down to bare bones, and crime just skyrocketed. And they're like, holy crap, we better get somebody to get it under control again. But here we are with this massive, embracing of socialism. These candidates are out there running on campaigns of abolish police,
Abolish prisons.
No, prisons? You know what prisons do? They make people worse. I don't even know what they want to do to these people because we're not even arresting them. If we have no police, we have no prisons. I mean, it's literally anarchy. We have no law to follow. And this is what they're pushing for. And if you think police are, in trouble now, anybody that tries to stand up to anarchists, knowing that there's no punishment anymore, God forbid.
Good luck.
Yeah. What that
Good luck. Bob, let me add this to what you're sharing. Think about it. Like you said, it didn't go away. They just buried their heads like the cowards they are. And so when light exposes them, then they head underground for a season, but they always come back. It's like you said, when you list the history of the DNC. So think about this. Just 2 months ago, not even, in May, during Police Week, 173 Democrat congresspeople voted no on honoring a resolution to honor law enforcement during Police Week. And these aren't just the socialists, the openly Democratic socialists. This is every household name from Nancy Pelosi to one of their new little superstars, Ro Khanna. Everyone in the squad. This was 173 of them. So when you said about the under 30% that even consider themselves proud to be an American, you're not making this up. This is from the top to the bottom.
Yep, that's exactly right. And by the way, it was less than 20%, less than 1 in 5 said that they.
I gave them the benefit of the doubt. You're right.
I know, because you don't want to think it could be that bad.
Correct.
But they are that
Correct.
bad. It is that disgusting. And all right, so cops have been under fire and targets for a very long time. I mean, it didn't start with George Floyd; it just went on another level after that happened. And that manifested itself in something, in a lot of places. I guess I should say there have been there have been people who have had one axe to grind or another with police. George Floyd, like I said, put it on steroids back in 2020. But what happened 10 years ago was one of the worst examples of anti-police violence in American history, one of the deadliest. It happened in Dallas, which is why you are in Dallas for the 10-year anniversary tomorrow. Let's remind everybody. Tell us the story of the Dallas ambush.
You're absolutely right, brother. And just what you said, we forgot, I think that as a nation, and this is why I'm bringing a spotlight to this tomorrow, that we forgot the warning signs that we saw in 2016. That was the warm up or the pregame warm up, if we classify it like that, Bob, which is there were protests happening all over the nation. And remember, BLM was already started. This was when they were founded. And
was it founded in Hollywood? Was it founded after Michael Brown? I want to say.
Correct. Exactly. Correct. Yep. Exactly. And so by this time in 2016, they've had 2 years to fundraise and organize, even though they're not a household name yet. So these protests are happening because of 2 high-profile police shootings that happened back to back, one in Louisiana and one in Minnesota. And so this protest is planned on July 7th in Dallas. And some of the ideas that were and the policies that were put in place, Bob, were ridiculous. Even to this day, a decade later, we're still trying to find out who was the administrator who wanted Dallas police officers not to be in body armor and not to have rifles because they didn't want them to look militarized to intimidate the protesters. And so you take Micah Johnson, this extremely disturbed individual who should have been, when you understand what his record was, should have been dishonorably discharged. He's been completely radicalized. And that's why what you're pointing out, the playbook that these Marxists use is so dangerous. So he becomes obsessed with killing white people and, more importantly, killing white police officers. And he had the training to do so. And he had been training for over a year. And that protest that night gave him the perfect opportunity to carry out what he wanted to do. One of the parts that we can't overlook when we think about this a decade later, and then what we saw just 6 years ago, brother, is that literally this man was posting. We talk about social media and how it influenced people. He was posting every red flag imaginable, yet nothing was done until it was too late. And that the mindset that he took and put on display for the nation to learn, for the quiet majority, if you will, is that this is someone who said that because, listen to his narrative, police are hunting unarmed, innocent black men. Did we not learn the lie that cost people their lives and set communities back for decades? This is exactly what he was exposed to, he bought into, and then he carried out the most deadly attack on police officers since 9/11.
So that attack, by the way, and thank you for the reminder about the red flags and what radicalized this man.
Yes.
So it was July 7th of 2016 that this protest that Hollywood just described was going on in Dallas. About 9:00 p.m., this Micah Johnson launches this ambush. He was in elevated positions and various spots around town. And as you say, he was targeting not just police officers, but specifically he told negotiators later, after the shootings, that he wanted to kill white officers specifically because of what you just said. And I think the two at the time were Philando Castile in Minnesota, and what was the one in Louisiana? Sterling.
Gosh, it's
Alton Sterling.
Exactly, Alton Sterling. Yes,
I'm trying to remember them all. The high-profile ones, the ones that were completely used for propaganda.
Absolutely,
to turn public opinion against police, to impact people like this Micah Johnson, to get them to lash out like this because they're suggesting that the police were targeting, innocent black men. Never mind the fact, Freddie Gray was another. Never mind the fact that all of these individual situations, the police were proven to have acted lawfully and the threats were real. It didn't matter at the time. The time or the mission at the time that Micah Johnson, was trying to carry out was paint all police as being racist hunters of black people, particularly black males, and therefore justify their executions. Hollywood? Absolutely.
You can't lay it out any more truthful than what you just said, brother. And then on top of it, let's add the injury to insult. Now, think about the reality. Now, I mean, it's obvious, but when you look at me, that I'm black. We're not revealing anything that is hard to understand.
I can't see your color behind that shirt, man. I don't know what you are. All I can see is that shirt, bro.
I love it. The what they choose to focus on and the way they choose to lie to destroy lives, and we'll bring it full circle to like we said, this Marxist manifestation that we're seeing is that as a black man, I'm not in danger from being killed by police officers, and to add on top of it, white police officers. The most danger to me is another black man age 15 to 50 who every year, it's never an off year for that, commit the most homicides in America. But yet they won't protest about that. Just like you've seen recently in Mississippi, there'll never be protest about what happens in these black communities night after night after night. And most of the time the cases go unsolved because police can't get any cooperation from the community because we've instituted no snitching culture. It's an embarrassment.
Yeah, well, it is. It's, the percentage, what is that number? Because, typically we hear about 13% of the population commits more than 50% of the homicides. But as you pointed out, it's much less than 13% because it's typically not black women, it's black men. So now we're down to 6.5% and 50. So we're talking like 4% of the population ish. I don't know if that number out there is responsible for all of that.
Correct. You're absolutely right. That is exactly what it is. And like I said, when you talk about the leadership and the ideology, when you talk about these far left candidates, think of who they always try to use as their poster children for the oppressed and the people that they're sticking up for. Yet every place this has been tried, Bob, and not only globally, in pockets in America, how has it improved the lives of anybody, not alone the black people they claim they care about so much? They create hellholes.
That's what it does. That is exactly what it does. Because I talk to officers a lot, who are in the inner city communities.
Yes.
And they are, they're interacting with people who live there. And the people who live in the law-abiding black people who live in those largely black inner city communities, the police are their best damn friends. They
Absolutely.
say, why aren't you here more? Because if you're not around here, we're being victimized. We're getting broken into. Our cars are getting jacked. All these different things are happening. When you're not around, please be here more. And so when they want to help black people by showing up in black people's neighborhoods where crime is high, they are then accused of profiling and hunting and targeting black people to arrest. Well,
absolutely.
What do you do? What are police supposed to do when they've got a high, preponderance of black victims that they have to help and defend and respond to, knowing that they're going to end up having to arrest black people at the same time? What are they supposed to do?
What they end up doing is they start pulling back, and it's what's been titled the Ferguson effect or the Floyd effect. And it's what the nation saw. The crime skyrocketed because criminals always filled the void. And let me say this, brother, I'm like, you're talking to a man who's not speaking theory. This is not some academic, idea. This is how I grew up. On the block that I lived in 1987, there was about three crack houses. Any direction I could go, I had to pass a crack house to go to the bus stop to go to school. If there were not those narc agents kicking in doors and running the drug dealers out, they didn't care that I looked like them. They were selling a product for profit and poisoning their own people. And like you and I know, you get these poverty pulpit pimps that go around and chase squad cars and for fame and lawsuits, to pocket money. We're still seeing it. They never live in those communities that they claim to care about.
That's a great point. That's a very important point. So tell me, Tom, that's your name, right? Uncle Tom? Is that?
That's what they love to call me. Exactly. Yes.
Tell me about that, brother. And I mean that very seriously, because you are, you endanger yourself because you are a black man who is not afraid to tell the truth about, the crime problem in this country and what police have to face because of black men. And you are, of course, called an Uncle Tom everywhere you go, and maybe worse than that. Tell me how you deal with that.
I definitely, my skin has been thickened. Bob, and I don't give a damn what they think, because just like we're talking about how we celebrated the 250th anniversary of this country, I can tell you, I shared with your audience when I was on the last time, my dad made a lot of mistakes, but I am someone who grew up with my dad. I knew who my dad was, and he wasn't having it. At least 5 uncles served in Vietnam. There was a different foundation that was laid and it was explained that you live in the greatest nation on the face of the earth, and you should be thankful every day for that. And although I saw him make a lot of mistakes, Bob, the trauma, I can tell you from, being a kid and watching your father be arrested several times, but those lessons that were instilled, I carry to this day. And so when we think about this particular massacre that happened a decade ago, this was it was a start. It was the beginning of me to see how deep this went. And when I say that, Bob, I mean it by this. At that time, remember, as you and I talked off air, I have somewhere 15 different church accounts, predominantly, or exclusively how they call themselves black churches, right? Mm-hmm. You could not beat these preachers going online. When the identity of the shooter was released and his manifesto and all those ramblings, he said, they were literally denying it and saying that the police were trying to frame a black man. So first the cops are hunting unarmed black men. Then when a armed black man assassinate police officers for being white, these people who claim to be Christians and pastors at that, leading flocks, literally jumped on Facebook and Twitter and literally just lie in order to protect a narrative. And again, that is why you see these neighborhoods in the condition they're in. They've been that. I'll be 50 in November. It's been that for my entire life. And like you said, the people who are suffering, who can't leave like I did, they're at the whims of these poverty pimps. And that's why I don't care what they think anymore, because what I understand, Bob, is this is the recipe. This is the Marxist recipe for how you destroy America. If your audience doesn't remember anything that I say, remember that the Black community was the guinea pig for the last 100 years of what happens with Marxist ideology and communist propaganda takes hold.
God, I hope people are listening to that message, because you're right. That is such an important part to take away from here. And I think people will take away a lot more than that. But go back to the full screen on Hollywood, if you would, Dylan. I can't see because my eyes aren't as good as they once were. Are those? but I see 5 faces and 5 badges. Are those the 5 that lost their lives in Dallas in this ambush?
Absolutely, brother. It is important, that we remember their names, and that was Senior Corporal Aarons, Officer Michael. We had actually 2, Officer Michael Kroll. We had Sergeant Michael Smith, Officer Patrick I'm messing that name, Zararipa, and Officer Brent Thompson, who was a DART officer. They were the officers that all lost their life that night, and who I'll be honoring both departments tomorrow morning.
5 were killed, 9 were wounded.
Yes.
2 civilians as well during that ambush. What does tomorrow morning's ceremony look like, and who will be a part of it?
It is going to be a small private ceremony. There's a major event happening that night in Dallas, and I have to be at the Freedom Fest in Vegas. So I'm on the road, brother, spreading the wake up call to as many people. But it's strictly for those 2 departments, and some of the local pro-police law enforcement organizations are invited to come out. But we definitely want to remember those officers. There's been a memorial there that has been created over the past decade. And I'm going to, you know me, I'm going to produce more content tomorrow for people to come on and get a behind the scenes look at it. But it's really, to put my arms around these departments and these officers and let them know we still see them, we hear them, and we know what's going on. We know what they're going through continually now. And although those calls to defund, aren't as loud as they were 5 and 6 years ago, but they're actually still there. Those people are still waiting behind the scenes because, like you said earlier, it's more than defund. They actually want to abolish, and they want to unleash hell on the United States of America. It's plain and simple. And these women, they are actually that line of defense. When you think about, Bob, you cannot achieve the American dream. You can't even participate in the hope of it if you can't have safety to run your business and to work a job. Things that people have taken for granted, for 250 years in some cases. And so when you remove the people who are standing on that thin line between chaos and anarchy, and you cannot underestimate what it would mean for our nation if that goes away.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the other thing is, even if it isn't full abolition of police, which is what the goal is, the Marxists that you're talking about, just making their jobs that much harder and targeting them the way they do ICE. And I'm kind of wondering, ICE agents have been forced to conceal their identities through these masks. And of course, the left likes to turn that into, well, that's because they're ashamed of what they do and blah, blah, blah. They're committing crimes and they don't want to be identified. And the reality is they're being threatened. Their families are being threatened. People, they're being doxxed. People know where they live, where their families live. And it puts a lot of people in danger. And it's quite a source of controversy in Congress, too, about whether or not that was one of the reasons why they had the partial government shutdown. They didn't want to fund ICE until they got some reforms, including the masks had to come off. I'm sitting here wondering if it isn't time not just for the masks not to come off of the federal agents, but if local cops are going to have to do the same thing. If they're going to have to start concealing their identities just to protect their families, for crying out loud. And I know that sounds absurd, but we're in an absurd time right now when law enforcement is being targeted in the way that it is.
Correct. It's not absurd, Bob, and that's the sad thing about it. One of the bills that we were pushing for that actually did get passed during Police Week was the Stop the Dox Act, and it was dealing with just that, sounding the alarm that this is not just federal. What you're seeing being done to federal officers, it goes down to state, to county deputies and your local police departments, because the ideology behind the people that are pushing the attacks is all the same. They could care less. To them, a pig is a pig. You heard the chant, put them in a pan and fry them like bacon. So they could care less because these people are full of hell. There's no other way. There's no simpler way to say it. But yes, you do. We have to consider that. And here is why. Right now, where we are, let this stat sink in, brother. We are in the point in this time in our nation that a police officer is assaulted every 5 minutes. Let that one sink in.
That's a crazy statistic, but not that crazy now that you say it out loud. Dylan, see if you can look on X for the video that has been shared by a lot of people. I don't know if I loaded it up for our show today in my media gallery here, but I don't know if you saw this, but there was a video of something that happened over the weekend, and I don't know where. I hope Dylan can find it. Five or six young black males beating a white female police officer. I don't know where it was. Like I said, I don't remember all the circumstances other than it was a part of a larger mass riot, one of these teen takeovers.
Yes, takeovers.
Yeah, they call them teen takeovers, but largely it's a video, Dylan, if you can find it. And it'll be probably on Instagram or X. I've seen it in both places. And in fact, I thought I shared it. But the point being, what you just talked about, targeting officers and making their jobs impossible to do. The fact that this particular one happens to be a female makes it particularly egregious, honestly. But just the fact that there is no fear of the authority that comes with the badge. And that doesn't mean that you should be in fear for your life, but I mean fearful that, if I do something wrong here, I might go to jail. There isn't any fear of that. There isn't any fear of the officer anymore in terms of the authority that his uniform, is supposed to convey. We see this, Hollywood, you probably see all the time videos of traffic stops in which the entitlement that so many, largely young people, but not I've seen other ages too, a lot of which are black females. You see them, I stopped you today, and this complete non-cooperation, won't roll the window down, won't give the license.
Give me your supervisor. I want your supervisor.
There it is. That's the video. Dylan found it. We can just look at this real quick. I mean, this is unbelievable. The idea that there is just this emboldened attitude that we can attack cops and do so with impunity. And not have to, worry about repercussions. So the point being, the lack of respect for the uniform and the badge, the get me your supervisor, like I'm in control of this traffic stop, not you. I'm me, the driver. I broke the law, or I was observed breaking the law, speeding, whatever it is. And I want you to do what I say. Give me your name and your badge number. You give me that rather than, here's my ID, sir. Here's my proof of insurance. Hands are on the wheel. I just want to get out of this and hopefully a warning. I'm going to be on my best behavior so I can get a warning and not an actual ticket. That's how it used to be. And now it's, who the F do you think you are stopping me like this? And that has killed police-public interactions and relations.
Absolutely. Brother, it is so much more diabolical. This is my first time watching the video, and I got goosebumps. I was literally on Horseshoe Beach, Florida this weekend, so didn't have a lot of internet. But here's what I can tell you just from 10 seconds of seeing that right off and what you see and who's doing it and what's the interaction.
You put it back on there, Dylan, while Hollywood describes this. Go ahead, put it back up there. This
and a lot of the wokeites are going to have a problem with what I'm about to say. And like I told you, I do not care. This is 4 generations of bastards raising bastards. That's what that produces. Because do you know, had I attempted anything like that, Bob, and like I said, this is the kid who saw his dad arrested, saw his mom arrested. It was known that had I even said I was going to attempt something like that, the safest people I could be with is the police officers, because my dad was like, at least they will just arrest you. I will kill you. Just that simple. Had no bones about it. And what you see, if you think about something that you saw nationally with the Carmelo Anthony verdict, and you saw his grandmother come outside screaming racism and amping up the crowd and bias, well, that's the grandmother. That's why I'm saying 4 and 5 generations of this. You have no fatherhood in the home. If we know the statistics, it's upwards of 75% born and raised without a father. This is the lawlessness that it produces. No discipline, no respect for authority, no boundaries. And when they get in these crowds, that they feel that you're watching the instant outburst of that mob mentality. And the left uses it every day, bro. It's their playbook. It's been their playbook from Karl Marx.
Hollywood, you're right. You're going to catch some hell from some of the wokeites about that. But you could not be more spot on accurate. I was looking for it while you're talking. I apologize if I get distracted, but there's another video.
Yeah.
That is kind of viral too. And I can't find it on short notice like this, but since you just brought up generations of bastards raising bastards, it's a video of 4 black people in a hallway and like in somebody's home.
Yeah.
And the prompt was from the person, like the narrator who was off camera, was things like, take 1 step forward if you have a father. And 3 of the 4 people step forward. Take 1 step forward if you live with your dad. And the 3 people take the step forward. And then take 1 step forward if somebody was there for you and it was a series of these things till the end of it. 3 people are all the way up at the front of the hallway by where the camera is, and the 1 stayed in the back.
Yeah.
And then the last line was break the cycle. And those 3 kids were the kids of the dad in the back who went back there to hug him. He broke the cycle. He couldn't take a step forward because he didn't have all of those things. A dad there to guide him, to help him, to work with him, to play catch with him, whatever the hell the questions all were. But it was so freaking powerful.
Yes.
Here's a black dad who didn't have his black dad, who knew he was not going to do that to his kids. And those kids turned around and embrace him in a way that's like, thank you, Dad. Thank you for breaking that cycle. That's exactly what you're talking about.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And when I tell you in the audience that it's so diabolical, like I said, you have it's a combination. You have the Afrostocracy. Now I'll tell you what the Afrostocracy is, since they already pissed off. That is the pastor, the pundit, the politician, the professor, and the performer. Those are the gatekeepers in black community. And you will never hear them. Now, remember, when Barack was running for president, he was playing a game to fool half of the country. He talked about the importance of the father being in the home and repairing the black family. But that was never the policies that he was going to promote. He was just diagnosing what the problem is, that everyone knew that most people, especially the quiet majority, have been browbeat to stay silent about. But what they show you again was that when we understand that this has been planned and this is promoted, think of the culture, the subculture, the music, the marketing, that literally you're creating open air prisons in these communities. And yet we have been told to think that if you keep voting for Democrats and people who look like you, that you're going to improve it. I'll be 50. It's only gotten worse. Wake up.
That's a fantastic explanation, Hollywood, and people do need to wake up. That is exactly right. I can't speak to some of those things the way you can because you're black, and you're right. They're going to get pissed at you, but can't imagine what they do to me or say to me. And there's just some things, I mean, reality. That's why I'm glad to have you on and speaking this truth.
Absolutely.
Telling everybody, particularly about the police and particularly about the way things are in the community, in the Black community, and the things that have to change for all of us, for their benefit, for our benefit as white people, and for all of us as communities together. That's exactly what has to happen. So
let me add this, brother.
Yeah.
This is why when we think about what we just celebrated this weekend, and this is why, whether we're talking about the Middle East, Asia, South America, brother, why do these people risk their lives to try to make it to, quote unquote, the most racist, systemically racist, white supremacist nation on earth? It blows up their lives in their face, because these people know, even if they can't speak the language, which unlike any other nation I've ever seen, we removed that barrier, that if they make it to America, they have a chance, if they're willing to, and give credit to some of them, they're willing to work hard, that you still can't break the law, you got to go back. But that's how great of a nation we have. Yet we're literally allowing people to become millionaires, Bernie Sanders, and now a billionaire, so he now criticizes only billionaires, that this nation is irredeemably racist and needs to be, in their words, dismantled. Well, yep. Look at Venezuela. I can tell you in Cuba, this is what they mean when they say dismantling. And like you said, Nicole Anna Jones with that 1619 lie, this is the vision that they have for America. And what you and I represent is from if we go all the way back, bro, to the beginning, when you think about the Rhode Island Regiment, with a regiment of all Black soldiers that Washington called up, think about that. Since the beginning of this country, we're no different than any other nation. There are things in our history that we're not proud about, but it has always been Black men and white men standing shoulder to shoulder for the betterment of this nation. When you think about Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass, they want that revisionist history on purpose, because you can't destroy it unless you lie about what the foundation truly is.
No, 100% right, Hollywood, and I'm so glad to hear you saying it and telling the truth. That's exactly what it is. What's going to solve it, or if it is able to be solved, if it is able to be repaired or restored, it's going to be Black and white standing shoulder to shoulder. And it's Black conservatives that are not playing the constant victimization card, constantly blaming everything on slavery. Where's our reparations? It is going to be Black people who say, I want this country to be the best it can be, and I'm going to continue to help it move forward, rather than remind everybody and to try to live as a victocrat. That's a Larry Elder term, victocrats. Yes. Allowed, from the past. That's exactly right. Well, Hollywood, God bless you for doing what you're doing tomorrow, obviously. Thank with the important ceremony tomorrow morning, honoring those who lost their lives in that terrible police ambush back in 2016. And thanks for coming on. You said something earlier on about, you're going to be dropping more content. Do me a favor. Always let me know when you drop new content so that I can take a look at it myself. Yes. Maybe share it if you don't mind me sharing it. Yes, I would love that. And then have you back again a little more often if we can do that.
Brother, you call me, I will be here. Sadly, we've already surpassed 50 officers lost this year. So I'm on the road every week this month, traveling the nation. But this is what it's going to take for us to keep the greatest nation that God has ever blessed a people with. We got to be willing to get out of our comfort zones, Bob. We can't be cowards to comfort any longer. If we really want the nation to survive, bro, it's up for us to do the work. It's no other way around it. No one's coming to save us. It's on us.
Dylan has been flashing that stuff from the website up there. The website is just supportourshields.com. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yes.
I want people to know where to go to find that. So good stuff. Hollywood, thank you, brother, for all of your great work. We appreciate you more than you know. Thank you, brother. Keep up the fight. I'm with you. I got your six. Thank you. And likewise. Got your back always. Thank you, my man. All right, there you go. That's Hollywood Morris doing some really great work. Seriously, support our shields is such an important thing. And you talk about a clarity of message and a clarity of purpose. You hear that from somebody like Hollywood, you cannot help but be inspired. He is driven, and he is traveling all over the country to share the message, to honor the fallen, to share messages of hope, to try to support and repair relationships between communities and police and so forth, and to try to bring the truth. It's extraordinarily important work that he does. All right. It's an entirely different kind of work that my man Charlie does, but it is also very important, because if he doesn't do his work, you don't get where you're going, because you can't unless you're riding a bike, I suppose. Charlie's Auto Repair. I want to say thank you to Charlie, and I want to remind you that phone number. Use it. Charlie is back and stronger than ever, recharged his batteries after a little vacay time. I was chatting with him up a little bit over the weekend. Call Charlie at Charlie's Auto Repair at 216-470-0170. That's a lot of sevens and zeros. Sorry, it is what it is. 216-470-0170. All right. Call Charlie if you need general maintenance done on your car. Time to get the tires rotated, time to get the oil changed, time to top off fluids and make sure everything is tip top, get a little tune up. Obviously, Charlie, take great care of you there. But he's an expert at diagnosing problems when you have real maintenance issues that need to be done, whether it's under the hood or whether it's in the CPU, because every car is pretty much a computer now. He's an expert at finding the electronics problems that you're having and repairing those. Also, e-check. You fail an e-check, take your car to Charlie's Auto Repair. He'll make sure that you have that certificate by the time you pick up your car, ready to go. Best part about it is he doesn't overcharge you. Charlie is not going to overcharge you on parts or in labor. He's going to give you exactly what you deserve, and that is to be treated like a friend and a neighbor, even if you're not a Lakewood resident. I don't care where you are in Northeast Ohio. Take your car to Charlie. It's in Lakewood right there. You see the address on Madison. You'll get the address more specifically when you call that number. But he's going to take great care of you. He's never going to overcharge you. And in fact, he may undercharge you. If you're a first responder, if you are a veteran, if you are an active duty military, or if you have a concealed carry license, he's going to undercharge you by 10%. So how about that? So if you find an honest mechanic and they're hard to come by, you hold on to them. Hold on to Charlie at that number, 216-470-0170. And thank you, Charlie, for being a patriot. Charlie will make your car great again. All right. Speaking a little bit about what Hollywood was just talking about, I didn't get to, by the time we got to the top of the 8 o'clock hour, I didn't get to all of my stories of the left's hatred, their vile hatred of the country coming out over the weekend in which we celebrated the 250th birthday of this country. So let me give you just a little bit more. I give you Bill Clinton. I give you Zoltar Mamdani. I give you Zoltar's wife. Let's see, what other hate do we have? Oh, how about number 8, Dylan? Let's take a look at number 8, Ilhan Omar's video message. Ilhan Omar's video message illustrating her intent to take America apart and remake it into something different, which is, again, following in the footsteps of the patron saint of leftism, his holy Barackness. Barack Obama said, I want to be president of your country and I want to change it into something else. Fundamental transformation was what he called for. Can you play the video in that piece there, Dylan? Scroll down. It's a video on X. You can just click watch it on X. There you go. You're doing it right now. Okay, let's hear what Jihad Omar said.
I believe in the great ideals of this country for liberty, justice, and the pursuit of happiness. And
is she talking about Somalia?
Day working towards that. It is really important for people to stay vigilant and understand that patriotism isn't fully believing in a particular administration. True patriotism is about fighting for your country and its dignity.
Your country is Somalia. You've admitted it.
That the citizens and the constitution of the country is protected and uplifted. Every progress this country ever achieved came about because people were willing to do something to make that progress happen. And so I knew early on that if I wanted a different kind of neighborhood, a different kind of city and a state and a country, I had to be part of doing that. And
right there.
In this time,
that's the line. That's the same thing Barack Obama said. That's the same thing every one of these radical leftists say. I want you to help me change America into something that it's not. I don't like 250 years of America. I don't like what this country is and what it was founded upon and what it was intended to be. I want to change it. And she said, I have to be a part of changing what this city and the state in this country looks like. And what does that mean? Open it up to the third world so that people like her can come in and leech off of this country and then vote for people like her to make sure that this country is never again what it was when it was founded. To make sure that the principles of faith, family, and freedom are never, to make sure that Islam and Sharia law are the laws of the land. That's what people like Ilhan Omar, Jihad Omar, and Zoltar Mamdani, and so many of the other ones. What's his name? El Sayed or whatever it is in Michigan. This is what their goal is. Fundamental transformation of the country. As we sit here and celebrate the wonders and the accomplishments and the achievements of the country, they want to end those. Stop remembering them, stop talking about them, talk about this country and about its evil from its slavery days, talk about this country's terrible record as they see it of systemic racism, talk about this country in every negative way we can to turn people against it so that they will say, yeah, let's try something new. Let's try something different. Let's try something like, socialism, which of course is communism. To that end, please play number, hold on a second, I'll tell you where it went. Number 7, please. This is okay, go ahead.
The Democrat open borders plan to entrench single-party rule, explained in under 2 minutes. 1. Flood the country with untold millions of illegals by land, sea, and air from all over the world, enough to eclipse the populations of 36 individual U.S. states so far. 2. Prioritize the needs of these millions of non-citizens over the needs of the American citizen, with free flights, buses, hotels, meals, and phones, ensuring their loyalty to the political party that imported them. 3. Keep them in the country at all costs, even when they commit violent crime like murder and rape. Attack the language used to describe the criminals, as opposed to the criminals themselves. Slander critics as racist. 4. Ensure their privileges are made irrevocable with city and state sanctuary laws that act as population magnets. Codify permanent status and ensure non-cooperation with ICE. 5. Count the non-citizens in the census that will determine congressional apportionment in the House of Representatives. As of now, that would equal 13 extra congressional districts, a tremendous amount of electoral power. 6. Wage a massive, heavily funded lawfare campaign to change state voting laws that legalize mass mail-in ballots, no signature verification, and no proof of citizenship requirements, making it nearly impossible to prove voter fraud. 7. Lock in the permanent voting majority with campaign promises of lavish benefits and permanent privileges, enshrining generational fealty to the Democrat Party. 8. Win elections. 9. Entrenched single-party rule has been achieved. The best part? Your tax dollars are paying for it.
That is one of the more eye-opening 2 minutes that you will see, because every single step in that playbook has already been taken. It's not aspirational. It's observational. This isn't the things that they want to do. These are the things they've already done and are in the process of continuing. That's how you break a country. In a year in which we celebrate 2.5 centuries of building this country, we are literally on the verge of watching it be taken away. I've been watching more documentaries about the founding of this country in the last month than I ever have before. And like I said, I'm a student of history. I'm not a historian. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a historian. I'm not close enough to that. But I'm just a fan. I'm an observer. I'm very interested in. And I've watched more documentaries about Washington, Jefferson, about the founding, the Declaration, the whole Revolutionary War, the Civil War, everything that built this country. I've been watching very, very closely. And I will tell you, the idea that it was ever guaranteed is a misnomer. It was called an experiment. Those 56 men who put their names, and I read that to you on Friday. I read you all of their names, and I read you the declaration that they wrote. They knew that what they were doing was something they could very easily be hanged, if you will. And they also knew that, if we get a chance to back out of this, we can scratch my name off of that. You know what, guys? Let's just pay the taxes. Let's just pay the taxes. Let the British do what they do. It's not worth dying over. They could have done that because what they were doing was experimental. It hadn't been done before, particularly on the scale that they were trying to do it. Break away from the powerful British crown with the most powerful military the world had ever known, both land and sea. I mean, it was impossible to think that they could do that, but they did it. And that experiment was never guaranteed to work in the first place, and it is never guaranteed to continue. We take for granted that it'll always work itself out because it did work itself out. All of the threats that they faced, all of the assaults, all of the indignities heaped upon them by the Brits, and overcoming that massive military, it worked out. So we look back at it through the hindsight glasses, and we're like, yeah, everything will work out. The U.S. can never be harmed. We're the U.S. We're the world's remaining superpower. We've got nuclear bombs. Nobody's going to screw with us. But it's always been known that if the country is to fall, it is not going to fall from without, but from within. And what's happening right now within? Communism is happening within. This isn't a McCarthy Red Scare. This isn't in our imaginations. This is happening right now, all across this country. And it's going to happen in the midterms. You have pain in the ass squad, okay? You have pain in the ass Bernie Sanders and AOC. What happens when 2 becomes 6? What happens when 6 becomes 12? What happens when there's 20 to 24 and there's a socialist caucus in the United States Congress? It's happening. Governors and states are being taken over. Governor's office is taken over by socialist governors as well. So it's not even just the federal government. The enemy is within the gates. That experiment I've been watching, just learning more and more about the founders and what they went through and what their vision was and how they risked it all for an experiment that they didn't know would work. They hoped it would. They prayed it would. They fought so that it would, but they didn't know that it would. And I'm telling you right now, we don't know that it's going to last another 10 years. We don't know that it's going to last. I jokingly say, here's to the first 250 and here's to the next 250. On Saturday morning, did you receive my briefing? It was a non-Sunday briefing because it was the 4th of July, the 250th anniversary. I sent you 250 reasons to love America. I'd been working on them for about 2 weeks. I was doing for about 10 days. I did about 25 a night, really. I would, just kind of compartmentalize them a little bit and break them down. And I published it and sent it out to you on Saturday. 250 reasons to love America. Don't think for 1 second that we have another 250 guaranteed. We might not have another 25 guaranteed. We might not have another 10. The enemy is within the gates. If we fall, it will be from within, not from without. Well, they're within. Dylan has the means lock it out. Thank you to Hollywood Morris for doing a phenomenal job in honoring those fallen in Dallas tomorrow on the 10th anniversary of that terrible ambush. And thanks to you for being great patriots. If you flew your flag high over the weekend, if you're still wearing it or flying it in some capacity, God bless you for being a patriot. America first, America first, America first. And yes, we are indeed making America great. It is going to be our mission. It is going to be our task. It is going to be a very, very long and arduous one to fight back against those who are trying to end it, to end American greatness. to turn it into American disorder, ultimately American chaos, finally American collapse, so that they can build it into the socialist, Islamist dystopia that they envision. Question is, what are you prepared to do? Thanks, everybody. Be well, be safe, and stay free. See you next time.